The views expressed on the Convo Lounge do not reflect the views of our current employers or our future employers.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Convo Lounge with your hosts, Amir Anthony, Char Rochelle, Antonio Crow, and our guest this evening, we have Valerie Henderson, registered consultant. Yes, my dear friend. She is a skilled nursing facilitator or skilled nursing registered dietitian consultant, for the Los Angeles area. She's also an adjunct professor for Compton College. And she also focuses on teaching basic nutrition courses in nursing for early childhood development and students. And Valerie also holds a pre-vet medicine, a Bachelor of Science in pre-vet medicine, and also an MS in food science and nutrition from Cal Poly Pomona. So we thank you for joining us this evening. We had a chance to read your work. And this is a great time to discuss, being that we're in the age of COVID, making sure that we're taking care of our health and focusing on that. So as we get started, just kind of give us a background about yourself and what got you into your field.
Thank you for having me. What got me was kind of like, it wasn't planned. As you can see, I started off with pre-vet medicine. I was really interested in the health of animals. And then as I learned more about farming and like the metabolism of animals, it got me kind of interested in the food that they're eating. And then it made me, someone mentioned to me, well, you're so caught up in what you eat, why don't you like switch your interest towards humans? And then I was reluctant, so I stayed in it for a little bit longer, finished it. Then I did graduate work in the laboratory, and then I realized I wasn't really helping many people in the laboratory. I wanted to be in the field. So then I switched to food science. And then from food science, I switched to dietetics. So I got everything. So it really helps to learn the science of food and how it processes in your body, because it helps you make your dietary choices. So as opposed to just following a diet plan, knowing how it actually works in your body, it helps. So that's kind of how it all worked out. I kind of moved backwards, when you look at it, because the last degree was a bachelor's. So I kind of moved backwards. And then the teaching, that just came, someone asked me in an email, because I was sending out emails, my interest. I believe in doing work that you're interested in, then it's not work. So I was sending out probably over 50 emails a day, because I graduated during a time when the job market was like no one could find a job out of college. So I was just sending out emails of my interests around 2000. I think that was like 2011 or 12. And then eventually someone asked me if I could teach that semester, and I had to hurry up and start teaching. So that's how I got the job at Compton College.
Okay.
So the long-term care, it gives me flexibility. That's the main reason I do. As a dietitian, we have so many jobs. Like most dietitians have more than one job. We don't stick to one thing. So for me to do my political activities, I chose to do my career part of my job. I chose to do something flexible. So
I forgot to also add in your bio that you are a diehard Dodger fan, by the way.
Yeah, go Dodgers.
No doubt.
Yeah, I love my Dodgers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just think our community needs to hear. We hear so much of everything that's on the surface, fast food, eat this, eat that, go be a vegan, go be a vegetarian. And it's kind of like, you're listening to a broken record. And then you get what I see every day. I see people with various different diets with the same diseases as a person who eats anything. So it all boils down to what we're doing as professionals. My presentations lately have shifted from teaching the community towards teaching professionals on what we've been taught. Like, we actually need to be retaught on, we need to be retaught on what we've been taught to teach the community, because most of what we're teaching the community is false. And it's not based on evidence-based research. The research is out there. There's no more donations needed. We have too much research backdating to the 60s and 70s telling us this needs to do more. We need more experiments. We need more of this. And then people in the 90s did a lot of work on removing like more equity, removing some of the current procedures for minority, just to lower the disease in the minority population. There's so much out there. All we have to do is put it to work. So it's a matter of professionals being bold and taking a step towards sticking to, like, this is what I'm going to do. I want to help the patient, as opposed to doing what the insurance wants them to do, or doing what gets the facility paid, because it's not really a conspiracy. Medicine, people are money when it comes to medicine. That's just what it is.
Wow.
Most professionals, this is why I try to focus on professionals, teaching them, because educating them or re-educating them, because we get into this rut where we just go to work and we just do what we're taught to do, and we're not thinking about what we're doing. And we don't get much result, right? I mean, are we just maintaining patients, or are we trying to heal patients? So, and now we're with this presidency or election, we're focused, the topic is always healthcare. I never wanted to work in healthcare, but I'm glad I did, because people don't understand, what do you want free this, free that for, if the healthcare needs to be fixed? There needs to be a healthcare reform, like fix Medicare, fix the way we're treating people with the same stuff. We're treating them and no one's improving. Are we just giving people free healthcare? So, and people need to understand what that word free means. You know, like, what is free? Someone's paying for it. It's not free. So when the facility has to pay for your care, or the hospital has to pay for your care, are you going to get the best, or are you going to, you got to think like that. So yeah, so that's what I'm glad all my experience is coming together, because it'll help me make the next one.
That information is very helpful. So what would you say the most common misconception is for the average adult in terms of diet and nutrition? Because we are living in an age where people are trying to convince us to either go vegan, eliminate meat, be a vegetarian, and then you have all these different diets where people are doing keto, low carb. So is there like a common...
Fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
At the end of the day, all my students at Compton, the last question on the exam, what did you learn in the class? And it's interesting, they all have the same answer. It's not even about the diet per se. It's about learning about your organs and what they do, what the food does to your organs. So taking care of the linings of your intestinal tract, the food that is soft on your digestive tract. Your digestive tract is from your mouth to your rectum. So if you touch the inside of your mouth, you see how soft it is? As you go down, it's very important to keep all that healthy, healthy meaning shedding, like your hair sheds. You want everything to maintain all the cells to be new cells. You want them to absorb all the nutrients you're taking in. Because if you were to try a new diet and your linings are messed up, how can you be absorbing anything regardless of your diet? Right?
That's interesting, because you mentioned, I know your work is in the inner city, primarily in Compton. And when I think about what you just outlined, you see in areas like Compton and other areas in inner cities across this country, they don't have access to the foods, or they don't have access to things that educate them. So we depend on people in your profession to give us that opportunity. But then when we walk outside of our door, we have McDonald's, Del Taco, the grocery stores that we shop at aren't your Sprouts and your high-end markets that serve the food that is necessary for our bodies. So what do you recommend for those that don't have accessibility in their neighborhood to actually practice the right type of eating, especially in the age of COVID?
Well, with the inner city, the problem was there. Most people, even if they were to have accessibility, what about the linings of their gastrointestinal tracts? How many people are still smoking? How many people are on alcohol every weekend? How many people, all the things that damage the lining, poor dietary habits. You can't just switch like that. You know, you can't just stop eating bad and start eating good and expect your intestinal lining to repair itself. Does that make sense? It's kind of like there has to be incorporation of herbs to help heal our bodies. So once you're done healing, like all these rehab programs, why aren't we incorporating something to repair the linings of their mouth so that they can have enzymes coming out again? You know, the only way to absorb the food that you're eating and to properly digest is to have the right amount of enzymes, which helps break up the food. Having a healthy organs to absorb. You got to have a healthy liver to receive. You got to have a healthy kidney to filter. So if I have most people in inner city damaging themselves, and then all of a sudden an investor comes and says, I want to put a Trader Joe's in the neighborhood so they can eat better. It's not just eating better. You still have the liquor stores on the corner. You still have the drug dealers selling the drugs. You still have the hospitals giving meds when they don't need the medications. Medications are necessary, but for short-term basis, not intended for people to be living off of them. You know, you need them for emergency cases, but to live off of them. And then the knowledge. What are we being taught in school? I know at the end of my bio, I put my goal was to change education in school and incorporate food as a science. Nutrition is a science, not a bunch of diets being picked and people just saying, I need to switch to this diet because meat is not made for humans or for us to be eating. You know, you still got to be able to absorb the plants and vegetables and the fruits and the seeds and the nuts that you're going to put in there. So a lot of education needs to be done. The part in my field is guilty of not having enough Black dietitians, not having enough Latina dietitians, not having enough Asian dietitians. Actually, for Asians, the entire research field is guilty of being racist towards Asian communities because you don't even have enough research for them. When they do have issues, there's not enough research for them in the journal articles to even see why. You know, so if there's not enough people that look like me out here in the field to help direct me on where I need to go and how I need to heal myself, how are they going to know? Even if there's accessibility, right? So a lot of what we tend to focus on in with fixing the community, we don't look at what's already there. That's a problem. We're calling them food deserts when it's actually a food apartheid. It's beauty in the inner cities. There's people who are seeking knowledge. There's people who are trying to make efforts, but to have the direction and to have, you know, people are losing faith in professionals because the professionals are not teaching, they're teaching white science. There's tons of articles on white science, like, and they're written by white people on how most of what we're being taught is written from a white person's perspective. So, you know, you still have, for the inner cities, you still have Latinas having a hard time deciding how to eat or how to appear. You know, they have a cultural clash with the American culture. How should I have the big booty? Should I have the smaller, skinny waistline? Should I embrace my curves? Then you have African Americans thinking soul food is chicken and mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese when it's not. So people need to be reconnected with their cultures. See, these are all, to me, these are all the issues that research shows me that needs to be fixed, as opposed to just food accessibility, healthcare, equity, you know. Yeah, what about the silent things we aren't talking about?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
So
well, yeah, looking at your work, I was able to read one thing that I mean, there was a lot of things that popped out of me, but it was a quote: race is always on the table, if not on top of the table, right under it. And
Right.
that's like, wow, like, okay, there's that mission statement. Like, there's a big issue here within our communities.
Yes. So when you go through all the problems, like make a sheet of paper and just list all, like have a think group or a focus group and just write everything down on all the problems in inner cities, health and minority groups. Like if you keep going lower, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, race is the problem. Like the root cause is you find some systemic racial issue.
Good. So I have a question. What's the benefit of eating organic, and why aren't there more organic grocery stores in the inner city?
Eating organic. So you have USDA stamped organic. It'll say USDA organic. That means everything's 100% organic, all the ingredients. Then you have 100%, no, then you have organic, just the label organic. That means only 95% of the product of the ingredients is organic, 5% is allowable ingredients. And then you have something that says made with organic ingredients. That one's 70 to 90% organic. Not everything is organic in that one. Why is there not enough organic? Usually if you do find organic in inner cities, the price is high because 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna buy it. It's just a marketing, it's just supply and demand. You know, everything's a business. They gotta make their money. Like, to be honest, like, if I was to sell something or have a product, I mean, you would have to put it where it's gonna get some sales. You know, I noticed the Ralphs in the inner city will have organic, or my hemp milk. I drink hemp milk, I love it. And I noticed the price is like a couple of cents higher in the inner city, but in the other areas, it's cheaper. So, yeah. So I don't, you know, it's the people don't have, people 9 times out of 10 inner city aren't gonna buy it.
So yeah, you basically summed it up. And Shar said it's not really the fact that it's not there. It's just that they're not supplying the stores with it, and or it's too expensive to purchase.
Right. And then if you look at how they do inner city communities, this is it right here. So I'm actually going to go to this slide if I can refresh my memory. In the name of help, they give WIC recipients or SNAP recipients, they give them vouchers. So they get these farmers market vouchers, but you're given all these choices, you know? Same with the breastfeeding. They advocate breastfeed, 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 but then you send them home with formula, you know? So on the back end, you're advertising something on the front, but you're doing something on the back. 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna take their EBT card and go use the voucher. You have to go to all these farmers markets. They're on certain days of the week. You know, they need the food now. What about transportation? So they're going to use that money, the food vouchers, for the grocery store across the street. Most likely a Food for Less, 99-cent store, Big Lots, you know.
Yeah. And another thing that I've noticed with the inner city is people who are on food programs such as WIC or SNAP benefits, they're buying processed food because that food will last longer. Whereas like vegetables, it doesn't last in anybody's refrigerator for longer than a week. And they probably don't know how to maintain or cook them or preserve them over time the way somebody who has a little bit more food education knows the value of diet and nutrition. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not given any of this. Like, I had no idea what dietetics was. I did not know what a dietitian was up until the age of 27. So I had no clue. Someone said, try that department. So I went over there and said food something. I didn't know there was this such thing. And that's because where I grew up in South Central LA, I never seen a dietitian. Even in a hospital, how many of us have gotten a referral to see a dietitian? So my field is 80% white. So
So it made me go back to an episode that we did a while back where we all discussed, and it was primarily from Shar, that, this is the reason why we preach in our communities, not just in the Black community, but also in the Latino community as well, to have more of us represented in those fields, whether it's education, whether it's fields of study that deal with our mind and our body and our health. It's important that we do that because we pay that forward and we bring it back to our community. We need more of that. And then we also need to the point where it can be educated at the lower level in public schools, where children can learn and bring that to the attention of their parents and their families so that they're aware of that. Because let's be honest, in our communities and longevity, you outlined it in your work, the life expectancy in a lot of us is due to the fact of not being aware. And we're creatures of habit, whether it's with the food that we eat within our culture. You outline the difference between the traditional African diet and the quote unquote slave diet when we were enslaved and brought to this country. And then the same thing can be applied also to the Latino community as well, and other groups that have been affected by some of the things that have happened in this country, primarily by those that were the oppressors. So I think it's extremely important that one of the biggest takeaways that our listeners get is to educate themselves, take time to read, take time to understand what we're doing to ourselves. And a lot of it is inside of our control, but it really comes down to educating ourselves and encouraging ourselves to really get out there and focus on the things that can help our communities and our loved ones.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have a question. And Amir kind of spoke on it a bit. What is the life expectancy in the last 10 years?
I have no idea. They're saying the life expectancy has been increasing, like people are living longer.
Right.
But I see that, like during this COVID, I've seen a lot of 85 and older survive it easily in long-term care. I see more people affected at 40s and 50s. So, but the problem is, do we want to live longer, or do we want to live with a more quality life? Because living long in a facility on medications, 15 to 17 pills a day, I don't see how your body is going to absorb any of that food if your small intestine walls are damaged.
Yeah.
I don't see that in our culture right now. We intoxicate ourselves. We have so many microaggressions. I don't know if it's just if we intoxicate ourselves because of the microaggressions we experience every day, or it could be, especially for African American women. Everyone's reason for being overweight or obese is different.
Yeah.
It's not all the time a diet.
What you just brought something to my attention, because when you said the microaggressions of drinking in our communities, it's something that I recall more in the late 80s and early 90s, where you had big name celebrities, entertainers, musicians, actors that promoted your cheap liquor, your malt liquor. We can name the list of celebrities from Billy D. Williams with Colt 45 to Ice Cube with St. Ides. And I remember, growing up, you would see those advertisements, even with cigarettes, and those things are no longer there. So where has it shifted to where you see us continuously putting that into our bodies, and it's affecting us, where by the time we're turning 40 and 50, it's affected us, and now we're dependent on another two-part question is Big Pharma, who has definitely taken advantage of what's going on as well.
So your question?
So just the impact of the
where has that shift happened?
Yeah.
I would say it starts with us. When did that shift happen? It's not even really the advertising of the alcohol. It's more so us becoming more Americanized, us always leaning towards
integration.
Yeah, as the more we integrate it, sad to say, it's just we rely on other people to take care of us. Like, I want to sign up for, so we feel if we go and get our checkups, like look at all the checkup, all the wellness stuff that goes on. Are we really talking about wellness? The definition of health is mind, body, and soul. So is a wellness fair just go get your checkups, go get your mammograms, let's still do our breast cancer walk? Or is it real education? Because I'm in a group with ladies that have, because I have an interest in restoring our womb and hormone balance. Because for women, it's a lot of African-American women specifically having issues with cysts, ovarian cysts. And it's a lot of women getting their ovaries removed, getting hysterectomies, and they're not even 40 yet. And we want to know why we're running into, I'm not saying don't go get a checkup, but I'm saying we're not connected to our roots. And I think that is a big problem with Black people. Other races have connections to their roots. And you know this because if you look at breastfeeding rates, I'm just using it as an example, African-American women and Latino women live in the same communities, but Latino women maintain high breastfeeding rates after the child is 1 year, up until the child is 1 year old. Black women don't even make it past a couple of weeks, or our kid is already on formula. But we have the highest mortality rates for infant mortality rate. We have the highest rates. So a lot of this is knowledge. A lot of this is not being connected to our roots. A lot of this, most of it, is actually the systemic racism that affects our group specifically. I know I sound repetitive, but I'm gonna add another issue because this really affects Blacks. Mass incarceration affects this whole issue, believe it or not, because you have single mothers doing it. This leads people to go and intoxicate themselves. They're trying to survive. We're at the bottom of the wealth gap. Trying to survive. We have to go work. We have to do all these things. When does our wellness kick in? When do we get time to go and yes, we know we have to do it, but when do we really get to do it?
Well, the other thing is, I'm sorry to cut you off, but another thing is, in medicine, when we are going to our doctors as African Americans and we're getting wellness checks by white doctors, they don't know how to identify mental health issues because it shows up differently in their white patients than they do in their Black patients. So if I'm a depressed Black person, I'm a depressed Black woman, I'm not going to go into the doctor and tell them, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling low. That's vocabulary words that white people use. But as a Black woman, I'm so prone to being strong and carrying it all that it shows up as hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes. So we're not diagnosed the same as every other race. Right.
And there's that weight stigma that comes on us only. Then they're told, go stay off high salt diets. But how do you know I'm on salt? And then they tell you, you need to lose weight. But how do you know I want to lose weight? Maybe I like my curves. Where is the BMI? I think I have on one of these things, like where the BMI came from. Who created these things, So there's so much that needs to be fixed before we just start giving everybody free healthcare. It hurts me every day when I see, and I try to help other cultures, but I see it mainly in Blacks. We're relying on the healthcare system to fix our problem. And I have to tell them in so many words, we're just helping you maintain. This is not, you're not here to get rid of anything. You're just trying to maintain we're trying to help you not get worse, and then not even that, to be honest, you're a dollar sign. Not to everyone that's working, but to the system we work for, you're a dollar sign. Does that make sense? People in healthcare I see nurses that work hard all day and push for this and push for this appointment, but the insurance doesn't cover it. They may have to tweak something on the diagnosis so that you can get this test. you know, but then what happens when you get the test? You know, I get a lot of young Black men coming to me asking me about their colon, and it's sad they're not even like 40 yet. So I go, so what was your colon results? They show me like they get a colonoscopy, you know, but they're sent home with just eat low on fiber, blah, a bunch of directions, but they don't get any assistance. So, you know, it's a lot that needs to be fixed in the community. And a lot of it is we need guidance, and then we need to be willing, because a lot of it is not the system. Most of it is the system, but that little 1% needs to be, we're willing to make changes and not accept what's in our community. If you don't buy it, it will go away.
Yeah. And I just want to add, and it probably is a little long, but I just want to add that marketing is probably driving everyone's dietary norm. And so marketing has to do with, like you said, or like everyone kind of mentioned earlier, with celebrities and how they marketed beer, how they marketed cigarettes. And so McDonald's basically drives the children to poor diets. And recently, Travis Scott has been put in a Happy Meal. And so, like, historically, McDonald's has sold more toys than Toys R Us, and Toys R Us is no longer in business. So how do you feel about how McDonald's markets to children and they serve poor dietary, quote unquote, delicious food? What is that? What is that to a dietitian?
I look at the parent. The parent doesn't have to go and buy it. You know, like, I'm a single mother. I lived off $900 a month when my daughter was born. Of course, Black men have a lot of issues. My husband was 45 at the time, diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. I'm late 20-year-old female. I could have chose to just feed my daughter the fast food, but I had to, and this is before I even was really studying this stuff. So I just said, I want to feed my daughter some healthy stuff. So I remember the farmers markets were starting to become more popular. So I said, okay, I can go to the farm, and I just start making up dishes, you know, spending like $50 to $100 a week. So there is ways to do it. I think if you're willing to, you know, you don't have to go to McDonald's. You know, In-N-Out smells good. That's their marketing, them onions. You driving on the freeway. You're driving on the freeway. You're full. You are not hungry. It happens every time. And then your appetite starts stimulating. You start smelling it. Your appetite starts saying, I want some. I'm just going to go get in that drive-thru. And for me, it's a grilled cheese. And I'm just going to go get a grilled cheese with grilled onions. And I go, you didn't need that. You know, did we really have to go and get in the line? So a parent will buy their kid a tablet before they take their kid off of a McDonald's diet. You know, like, if you can afford internet in your house, you can afford to give your child a healthy meal. And
so that is a word.
Most people don't want to cook.
No.
Yeah, it's about convenience, and that's the fact right there. You don't want to cook.
So real quick, shout out to the In-N-Out grilled cheese. That is the bomb. That's on that secret menu.
Isn't it?
You know, shout out to it. But no, I totally you know, and Antonio, thank you for adding that in there, because, you know, once again, using celebrity likeness to promote food that is processed. You know, we know where that's coming from, and you know, there was big money that was made from it. I personally do not eat McDonald's. I haven't had McDonald's in I don't know how long. But I think for me, what I got from what you were explaining is the colon cancer, you know, the untimely death of Chadwick Boseman, and the fact that colon cancer seems to be prevalent in men of color. What is your recommendation for men, you know, because, you know, for me, you know, getting closer to that age where I may need to start, you know, focusing on better health regimens. You know, I can have an active lifestyle, but still succumb to things that I'm unaware of. So what is your recommendation for men as we're navigating in the current world that we're in right now?
So I want to eliminate the age factor. Most people think I'm getting older, I need to start focusing on this. Not to say you, Amir, I'm just saying. In general, we use, I see it in class all the time. All my slides have age on it. We need to, in smoking and low income, we need to eliminate all these factors. Like age is the reason why people need to go get checked up. It takes a long time to damage the linings of your intestines. So you have your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, and then from your stomach to your small intestine. The small intestine, even though you mentioned colon cancer, colon's the next, large intestine, colon's part of the large intestine. But the small intestine, before you get to the large, its job is to absorb nutrients, okay? If there's no nutrients in the food, where is it going to take? It's going to, the small intestine is going to say, I have nothing to do with this. This is an Oreo. There's no nutrients in that. It goes to the large intestine. Large intestine ends up becoming some type of storage. Okay, as time goes on, you're building up so much of the lining is thickening. You know, your walls. I wish I can show a video of the colonoscopy I show in class. Then you'll stop eating all, like, everything mucousy, but you'll start seeing your linings of your colon become damaged. Okay, now you're creating pockets called diverticulosis. So now you're having, so your colon is like a spiral, okay, it's wrapping around. Small intestine is like folded, but the colon's like you're wrapping around like this, okay, and everything is spiraled down. So you're eating bad diet over some years, add some alcohol. Alcohol really does it. It just creates more pockets. Add in a lot of people are drug users, believe it or not. A lot of people are dipping and dabbing in drugs. I'm seeing so much of it in the African-American community. I don't care if it's a little or a lot, it's damaging your linings. You will feel some constipation before you're 30-something. These pockets that create, now the food that you're eating, you don't feel it until probably you say like 40-something years old. You start feeling it. You go, oh, this hurts, and it really hurts. You notice when you use the restroom, it's a lot of pain. Only a little bit comes out. Okay, the food is in those pockets. All that food from years is sitting in those pockets. Okay, now it creates something called diverticulitis, where now you're having inflammation of your diverticula. Your colon, you can have colitis. Inflammation of your entire colon becomes inflamed. This is a risk. Now you're at a high risk for getting colon cancer. So you may go and get your first colonoscopy at 40. I suggest 35. Go get your colonoscopy. If they have to remove polyps during the exam, that's not good. You shouldn't have polyps in there. You shouldn't start having little big pus balls in there where they have to remove it. But my question to doctors is, what is your example of you passed this colonoscopy, everything looks good? Okay, what is your example of this looks good? Because people need to see what's in there a little bit, you know, like if there's like black in there on the walls and stuff, you may have some dehydration, you may be on a lot of laxatives. If people have a lot of mucus in there, you need to tell them. You know, don't just say because you didn't see any polyps and cancer tumors that they're good. Right. You know, so I suggest men or people just at any age, you know, you have a bad diet. Everyone knows if they have a bad diet or not. If you changed your diet and you used to, all of us live here, we all breathe the same air. We need to go to a colon hydrotherapist. Okay, I'm not saying skip the doctor, but a colon hydrotherapist knows everything about the colon, and they can tell you based on what's coming out in the little tube, they can tell you what's coming, like if this is the last part of the layer, or they could tell you what kind of, you know, what's wrong with your layer. They could just tell based on the little fibers coming out. So I would suggest don't do it all the time, but it's good to do like a series of treatments. And then keep yourself on a healthy diet with lots of water. So
when you speak to a colon hydrotherapist, correct? Mm-hmm. Are you speaking of the colonic?
Yes, yes, and there's different therapists do different things. But I don't want people to just think I go get a colonic and keep doing what I'm doing, because I don't want your body to just get used to a water hose going in there and pushing everything. You know, like you really need to go to someone who has knowledge. Like I want to say her name, India Holloway. She's an African American colon hydrotherapist. She's the best one that I've known, the one I've used. Maybe she may come on the show one day, but she's just the best. And as she's doing it, she's telling you what she sees coming out. You want to know what you see coming out, because you're not going to see it. You're laying down. And she'll tell you where this is coming from. Like, okay, you have a lot in here. You're impacted. We need, the color, you know, she'll talk you through it, because you don't just want to go and get cleaned out. You want to know about your body as well. So she can also tell, like, give you some tips on the type of probiotics you need. So, if you choose to go to one, make sure they're explaining to you what's coming out so you can know what you're doing wrong, or else it's not going to be useful.
Good to know. That's good to know.
Awesome.
Hope that answers your question, Amir.
Yeah, no, you outlined it very well. I do appreciate you breaking that down, because I think that, like I said, that was a huge scare for a lot of us, primarily, men of color, but just people in general, just like, you never know. And you go to the doctor, you get these checkups, but are the checkups the necessary checkups that are going to give you that lifespan or allow you to continue on? But one thing I took away too was—
I have an add to that real quick, Amir, before you go to the next one. Hold that thought. The reason why Black people are getting so much of the colon cancer, the research was showing it since probably the late 90s. We eat a lot of dry heat meats. We're using a lot of dry heat in our cooking. We've been told baking over frying. We've been told roasting and grilling over, yes. We've been told use the smoker, this is all dry heat. Those carcinogens that form in your meat go straight to the colon and the prostate. The research shows it. It goes straight to those targets. Now, people get stomach cancer, people get brain tumors, but as far as prostate and colon, the research is there that when you're putting flesh, meat, not a vegetable, but meat on dry heat, it creates the proteins change their shape. They denature, and they turn it, they become, your meat becomes carcinogenic. So now you're eating carcinogenic meat. Okay, for women, it's the breast and colon. For men, it's the colon and the prostate. So that's why you see so much. And I've seen I know 3 people that died this year from colon cancer under 40.
Wow.
Without treatment. They went to the doctor and they died within weeks.
Wow.
And the carcinogenic meats is really prevalent in our community and also other communities of color, because we like to grill, we like to barbecue. It's one of those things that we love to do. It's an American pastime almost. It's
a social event. Like, we grill for everything. We grill for holidays. We grill for birthdays. We grill anything you want. Any life celebration, there's going to be a barbecue attached onto it. So Dad, you can't have ribs no more?
Then they told us, well, you can. There's another way of cooking. So here's the solution: braising. If you go to other countries like Africa, Morocco, Amsterdam, you go to all these different countries, they give you ribs, but it's braised. That's a moist heat method. They're adding moisture. You look at how Jamaicans cook. They add moisture to it, right? Don't they put the top on and turn the heat down? You can have a rib, but if you slow cook it, and then you don't have to eat the whole rib in one sitting, right? And then you don't have to eat the rib with a starch.
Why don't?
Okay? Because now the starch digests different than the meat. The meat digestion starts in the stomach. Starch digestion starts in the mouth. So now if you're eating both at the same time, you're slowing the digestion process.
So no ribs with potato salad?
You can eat it separate. Just, whoever introduced the plate was wrong. We can walk around and nibble all day and never gain a pound and have tons of energy instead of being tired after we eat. You can eat a little bit here, then 2 hours later, eat you a potato with some vegetables. But the African diet is meat and vegetables, or starch and vegetables.
Wow.
It's always, if Jamaicans too, most blacks that aren't American are eating vegetables.
Char's face lit up when you broke down the Jamaican diet. She needed to hear that. That was life for her.
Yeah, there's a lot of vegetables involved.
Yeah, there are.
Well, I do appreciate you breaking that down with the carcinogenic meats, because I love me some.
Peace.
Yes, I love it. But one
but
thing.
braising is so much better. I can tell you that. You try to go to Amsterdam, eat some braised ribs.
We gotta add it to the show notes. Some of your suggestions on how we should prepare our meat when we are having those cravings of our favorites, from ribs to chicken, fried chicken, whatever the method is, of cooking it. We definitely would take those recommendations. But one thing I wanted to go back to real quick was you brought up drugs that are prevalent in the Black community, or just communities in general. What drugs are these young kids taking that? Because I kind of wanted you to elaborate more on that when you mentioned drugs. Yeah. It's such a.
I'm hearing teenagers talk about Molly. What is it? Molly, ecstasy. I know a lot of, Norcos. People are dying.
So it's
not waking up.
It's the pills that are causing a lot of it.
Uppers and downers.
Yeah, it's a part of there's a whole opioid epidemic that's going on right now. Yeah, and it's not helping at all.
Yeah, and the weed is not. The marijuana being legal is not helpful, because a lot of that is genetically modified. We should have known when they're going to legalize something. They're just kind of trying to make money off of us, Yeah. But they're adding stuff to the marijuana. It's not in its purest form. No way should marijuana make you crazy. It's not the best herb, but it's a herb that's supposed to, not make you crazy.
Right. It's supposed to mellow you out, relax you, give you some give you the munchies. And
it does. It may not even do that. There's a lot of health benefits, but people aren't getting them because it's not pure weed.
Wow.
That's good to know, especially since they're doing they're making all this money off of like medical marijuana, and if you have a medical card. But you're right. In America, this capitalist society we live in, of course there's not going to be any benefits.
No. Yeah, you're gonna have lung damage. People think smoking weed is. You're gonna have some lung damage. It's burned, and you're inhaling it. But there's other things that other cultures do, and it's not marijuana, and it's more beneficial. We're just so stuck on whatever they tell us.
Yeah.
Trends in marketing.
Yeah, people smoke a lot of things. You can smoke nutmeg. You can smoke. What is it? It's another herb. Blue something. It's another plant. It's a lot of plants people smoke, but it's like once it becomes popular, they want to mess it up.
Yeah. So I do have a question. Just going back to barbecue, can we at least have it in moderation? I personally eat healthy throughout the week. So on Juneteenth, can I have barbecue then?
I would say, what is your example of moderation?
Twice, 3 times a year.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't see any. And then I know I don't eat barbecue like I used to. I've just reduced a lot over the years. But when I do like a rib, I know recently I slow cooked them, and they were way better than when I used to make them on the grill. I tried a braising method, and it was just look up some braised ribs. It was just amazing. But it's all food combining. I wish I could show you guys, maybe I'll send it to you guys for your viewers. There's charts on how we used to food combine years ago. It's all food combining: protein, vegetables, starch, vegetables. If you're going to eat the ribs, have a big giant, for the holidays, I make probably the best vegetable dishes, and then I can eat my mother-in-law's oxtail on top, as long as, and I don't get tired. You know, why do we want to get tired after we eat nutrients?
Right.
Nutrients are supposed to give you life. That I always wondered, how do people die and we're eating?
Yeah, you're right.
So I want to feel good after finish eating. I don't want to be taken care of and it's all about like how much you value yourself. You can eat whatever you want, but you know how to mix match it with things that can promote energy. So if you want your ribs, you know, make you a really big vegetable dish with it with lots of colors. I always say 5 or more colors in that dish. 5 or more colors, because the biggest issue with vegan diets, they're limited. They're not eating a variety of vegetables. You know, I see a lot of people with vegan diets asking me for help and they have cysts. And I'm like, how you get that on a plant diet?
I can recall a few times when I reached out to you and you like literally told me like, what do you have on that plate? So I do appreciate that.
So about the plant diet, has anyone ever had like parasites in their bodies from eating like plant diets and organic? Does that ever happen with parasites?
There is ways. You can still get parasites from eating plants and organic foods. You know, there's a lot of where you can make organic muffins, organic donuts, right? I've had some. You know, you can still eat, you know, the sugar and fat combined. Sugar is not bad and fat is not bad. But when we mix that stuff together, now we got a cake, whether it's organic or not, right? You can still have some parasites in there. But there's foods that you can eat to help eliminate parasites. Like I've eliminated parasites out of my son with his eczema condition. Most people think skin conditions it's just hereditary. Well, it could be genetic, but so is my dietary habits, right? I mean, I make gravy the same way my grandmother made it. So I knew to give him something to promote getting rid of some of those parasites last year, and I noticed a tremendous difference in the skin. You know?
Yeah. I will say to your point about how other cultures eat is how that's what impacted how I eat and how I cook my meals and how I prepare my meals, because I noticed traveling abroad, like going to Europe, that a lot of those foreign countries, they don't promote fast food. A lot of their meals come from cooking within the home. And then I've noticed like when I travel to the Caribbean island, I want certain foods. They like, for instance, like on one trip, we wanted fish. And literally the cook was like, well, if we catch fish today, you can have it. And I'm like, if you catch it, so you don't just go to the grocery store and pick it up and then give it to us. So it's like, wow, like our food in America is really killing us. Like food is legit medicine, and it can either harm us or aid us.
Yep. Yeah, we have accessibility to everything at all times, right?
Yes.
So with autism, it was, you know, studies that show that because of like the fish that some people eat, women eat, it can heighten the levels of pregnancy and cause autism. Do you have any facts on that?
I don't have any, like the mercury.
Yeah.
Was this saying the mercury? I don't have any research evidence on me, like to back up any of my thoughts. I try to keep my opinions, but I haven't read on any research evidence behind that. But I know that depending your definition of fish, which are you talking about?
So maybe red snapper, maybe salmon, the fish that contains mercury.
Right, which is so many. I think we just have to use good judgment when we buy fish. You know, like we had oil spills some years ago. Like we should, if we're buying fish from those areas, we shouldn't think the oil spill just disappeared, right? We should check into, like, when we see some items on the store, we should call and say, where did you get this? You know, like just be conscious buyers. Like, I try to get everything wild caught.
Yeah.
I try to avoid a lot of, and even if you're going to buy the fish, how much you need to eat of it. Right? And then try to mismatch with some healthy options. Like I said, everything should be 80% plants on your plate. And that 20% can be a little bit of other stuff. So we don't have to eat the whole fish, right? Right. So,
Man and fish.
I mean, your diet's never going to be 100% perfect.
Yeah.
Got that right.
You know, it's just using good judgment. I just tell people fruits and vegetables as much as you can. On an empty stomach, fruits are great. Not a fruit salad, not a fruit. You can't combine all fruits. You know, it becomes like a dessert. But if you're eating fruit throughout the day, you notice you have tons of energy. You're doing a good job. Do you feel good? You're doing a good job. Because if you look at every single thing, I know we have all these herbal doctors. Everyone's following Dr. Sebi. Okay, yeah, you can. If you look at everything and be critical, you won't eat nothing. But if you look at everything and you're grateful, then the food responds a little differently on your body, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Well, Valerie, we definitely appreciate you joining us this evening for this episode of the Convo Lounge. Once again, registered dietitian consultant, skilled nursing facilities in the Los Angeles area, adjunct professor for the Compton College in Compton, California. We definitely appreciate your work, and I appreciate you, friend, for joining us this evening. And once again, go Dodgers.
I know, right? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was a nice conversation.
You.
We thank you very much. Have a good one, my friend.
Thank you for your time.
All right, y'all. Well, this is the part of the segment that we have brought in new for our fellow loungers that we like to call Sound Off. Sound Off. Sound Off. So I'm going to go ahead and sound off real quick on something that's very obvious right now, which is the presidential debates. For me, that was the word pure entertainment. I don't kind of like, not really. I think it was this, just to frame it real quick with Dan and Bash on CNN. It was purely a shit show. And, you know, Chris Wallace, the moderator, you know, and the individuals who run the presidential debates, the Constitution of Presidential Debates, I believe is their name. They're looking at other ways to where they can format that differently, because that was ridiculous with Donald Trump basically, or 45, basically interrupting every single detail and not answering the questions. But what I am looking forward to is next week when our very own Kamala Harris debates against Mike Pence. But that's where I want to sound off on. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was foolery. It was definitely foolery. I'm still waiting for, and this is not a part of my sound off, but just to piggyback, I'm still waiting for what Trump meant when he said, "Proud Boys, stand by,
stand back and stand by."
Back and stand by. What does that mean?
That means
one, and two, what American citizen doesn't know off the top of their head who the main major white supremacy groups are? Like, why didn't you address the KKK?
He addressed one that we've never heard of and gave them a spotlight.
Yeah, you didn't address the most notorious. Yeah. You addressed the underdog.
Yeah, and gave them and basically activated them with that statement that he had. That was their mission statement, de facto mission.
Stand by.
Stand. Yeah.
What's about to happen? Like, doesn't stand by mean like get ready for action just in case like I snap my fingers, we all about to pop off?
Deployment.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's my sound off, y'all. How about you guys? Okay.
Antonio, you got one or?
Yeah, I have a sound off. I want to sound off on Faison Love for calling out all these entertainers, specifically, he called, what's the kid from New York? A fake gang member. He talking mess about on Vlad, and Vlad is just another puppet. I don't know what the purpose of Vlad. I really don't get it. And he's so popular now that it's just really irritating me. But Faison Love has been doing a lot of videos and not really spewing anything good. So I just want to ask Faison Love to just stay off of Vlad for the rest of the year. Thank you very much.
Well, who did Faison Love go after? He went after Dave East.
Yeah, Dave East.
He went after Dave East. Yeah.
And he did a song, and he just really like tried to like diss him, and there's really no need. I mean, outside of making Dave East more famous, which shout out to Faison for that, you know what I mean? But outside of that, it's a waste of time.
Right.
Same.
Right.
Well, my sound off is in the same vein of Valerie's presentation today. I'm wearing my dad's shirt. As you guys know, my dad passed away last year, and I'm always going to use my platform just to promote health. Health is definitely wealth, and food is medicine. Please, 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 please be cognizant of the whole foods that you put in your body while you're eating. Be mindful. Take it slow. Eat healthy. Eat lots of greens. Eat lots of fruits. Take care of your bodies. That's the one thing we have control of. Our body is our temple. We can control what we put into our body. So please, y'all, take care of your body.
Most definitely. Well, this was definitely an episode that we hope you guys learn a lot from, and is impactful for not only just yourself, but also for the community that you serve, and to pass along with your loved ones and your family. Once again, you guys stay blessed, be safe. Make sure you all register for vote. Make sure you are also checking to make sure that you filled out your census. That's another thing that's extremely important. But we will definitely add all the material that's needed from tonight's episode in our show notes. But we definitely thank you once again, and you guys take care and be blessed. Peace.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget
and also,
to subscribe, like, and share.
Real quick, we will definitely be advertising our Patreon account in our show notes moving forward. So we definitely got to add that. And real quick, I'm sorry we forgot to plug in our Instagram. So you can follow us at the Convo Lounge. You can follow me at the Prosperous One, _Prosperous_1. And you all?
You can follow me at Shar.Rochelle.
And you can follow me at Antonio Crow Clothing.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for joining us for this episode. Y'all be blessed. Peace.
Peace.